Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Lawtech Connect on Litera TV. I'm Adriana Linares, and I have a special guest today. We're going to be talking, sort of switching from what I normally do, which is talking to attorneys with cool niche practices, because I have found a new service and a tool that I'm pretty excited about, and I want lawyers to know about. It's called Nota, and here's Paul. Hi, Paul.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I'm excited. I feel like sometimes in legal, we get a little stale with new types of ideas and services. And obviously, in my world, I deal a lot with practice management programs, document management, time and billing. And your product, which we're going to talk about, called Nota, helps attorneys manage IOTA or IOLTA accounts, depending on what state they're in, what they refer it to as. So, but before I dig into Nota, tell me a little bit about you and your background, because I think you're new to legal. Is that right? You've been in banking, fintech. It sounds so sexy, like legal tech, but not.
So fintech, basically, spent the last 18 years building software for banks, working in a banking system, payments, lending, etc. And about a year and a half ago, partnered with M&T Bank, which is a Fortune 500 bank in the Northeast.
Okay.
They were actually a client of mine in my past, and I was with the third largest fintech globally called Finastra. And we produced various type of banking software. And that's how I knew of M&T. And they came across a problem around IOTA accounts with their attorney clients. Mm-hmm. And we said, hey, why don't we try to solve this problem with them from a banking standpoint? And that's how Nota was born. And Nota stands for, notes in Latin, as most people know. And the idea was to add a very simple user experience to the trust account, the IOLTA account for lawyers. And, we found, we got that in the hands of about 10 attorney clients, and they looked at it and they said, oh my God, this is so simple. It is so easy. You don't really need to understand accounting to deal with this. And so that's our first product. But, our mission is to be the bank for attorneys, and basically continue to co-create various products with the legal community for the legal community.
Yeah. So what I like about this is, thinking about my consulting practice, and when attorneys come to me and say, I'm starting a new firm, where do I start? We get through the basics. They know they've got to form a corporation or some sort of legal entity. They've got to get a domain name. And then, I go through my usual process, which is you really need a practice management system. You've got to have Office 365. Make sure you have a professional subscription to Adobe Acrobat. So, we start slowly chipping away at all the elements of building a law practice business. And then ultimately, IOLTA or IOTA comes up, and I typically have to point them either to QuickBooks, which can be hard for trust accounting, or, point them to what their practice management program might have internally, which in my experience with the products that I typically work around, it's very simple. It's doesn't have any sort of bells and whistles. And maybe you're going to tell me it doesn't have to have bells and whistles. It just needs to connect and make things easier for attorneys. So let me back up and ask you this. So did M&T Bank decide they were going to build this product from scratch, or did they buy something?
No, so Nota has been built completely from scratch. We built it natively in a cloud, which is still, a new concept for banking. But we're pioneering that. We're actually the first offering within the bank that built things natively in a cloud.
No kidding.
And it's we're doing things in a new way, thinking outside of the box. My team exclusively focused on working with attorneys. There's 22 of us now, and we're in the process of doubling that number in the next 3 months. The way it works is basically part of your bank account, and we're not attempting to replace QuickBooks nor practice management software.
Good point.
We are integrating with the tool stack that you recommended. You recommend to attorneys you work with. You need the PMS, you need QuickBooks. Right. And our goal is to basically just have a smart bank account that integrates with the tools that attorneys love and use.
That's excellent. And so you have to have an M&T bank account, obviously, in order to get the IOLTA management. But I think I read and we've spoken, and you don't have to have that necessarily as your main bank account. You can just have an IOTA account through M&T that then offers this service for free as part of your normal banking. So that lends the conversation to talking about being a multi-state bank and maybe not having branches in every corner. What states are you all in? Remind me.
So we're currently in the Northeast plus Florida, so it's 10 states total.
Excellent.
And so it's that's what Nota is currently limited to. Okay. But we have ambitions to expand our offering nationally towards the end of the year. But for now, we're in 10 states.
And what did you find in doing the research for building a trust management software service? What were the biggest issues attorneys were having, or what problems were they reporting that Nota is trying to solve?
I think, first of all, there was some ambiguity around how do you manage a trust account? Uh-huh. And, of course, you can get an excellent CPA that knows the setup with QuickBooks.
Yep.
They can come in and help you with that. And our mission is to help you self-serve and be able to manage that IOLTA yourself with just tagging those client matters to each transaction with a very simple user experience within your bank account, which is the source of truth. And what we found is that most attorneys worry about the trust account and worry about the liabilities that you can get disbarred possibly.
Yes.
And so they say, hey, I really want to have control. I want to be able to do it myself. And if I have a tool that's self-explanatory, plus I have a dedicated team of bankers that can help me with, my trust accounting needs, that is a very strong value proposition. And like I said, it's our first product. We're in the process of rolling out a business banking checking account for attorneys. We've got lending products specifically for attorneys. At the end of the day, the beauty about the partnership with M&T, which is a very reputable Fortune 500 bank, that we have, we're a full service bank, and we're basically able to offer all those products and personalize them for attorneys. So that way, when they're dealing with our team, they are getting that personalized service and a personalized team that really understands their business and can make suggestions and recommendations to help them grow their practice in this during and post-COVID environment.
And so just to make sure I'm asking the right questions and getting the right information out there, if you are already an M&T bank account holder and you're an attorney, then you just need to call up and ask for Nota. No extra charge, nothing new.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Very good.
And look, what we're doing is that we're trying to enrich the banking experience. And at the end of the day, it's like you said, this is at no extra cost. So as you become a banking customer, you get those additional services as part of the banking relationship. And we think that's a really nice differentiator for us as a financial institution, and an incredible value add for the legal community that we're focused on serving.
Yeah, and sort of back to what I was saying when I said one of the reasons I like this is I've had many experts that I interview either on my podcast or just on a panel or over time, and often the recommendation is to have a good banking relationship. But I don't think that's something that a lot of young lawyers think about when they're launching a practice, or it might be a little harder for a small firm to establish a really good banking relationship, because I imagine most banks, they'd love to have, the Gray Robinsons of the world and the Holland and Knights. And I just feel like it's an elusive relationship for a solo or a small firm attorney to be able to establish. But it sounds to me like what you're saying is, that's what we want. We want to be the lawyer's bank, and we've got the products outside of just IOLTA, and then the bankers who are there to help you, which is really nice to hear.
Yes, and you just touched on a very important point. Most banks pay attention to customers that do at least $2 million of revenue. As we know, the legal market is very fragmented, right? So there is 500,000 solos in the United States. There is, 1 million private practice attorneys in the United States. And a significant portion of them do less than 2 million of revenue a year. And so, to get personalized banking service, to get a dedicated banker assigned is just unlikely to happen, especially with large financial institutions. With Nota, you get a dedicated banker regardless of the revenue that you're doing. And one thing that we found during COVID that many of our attorney clients thought that they had a good relationship with their financial institution, their bank. And as PPP started rolling out, they realized that they don't, because they were getting sent to the 800 number. Things were not getting processed on time. And, it's a lifeline of a small business to get that loan, the PPP loan, to get going in this difficult period. And, we as M&T, we ended up coming third nationally, even though we're only in 10 states in PPP value. So that speaks also to the fact that as a bank, not only we're doing this for the legal community, but in general, we're very dedicated to small business. And that's how we've been able to, with only 10 states, the place third nationwide. And we do that by having those personal relationships with every single business banking client we have. And with Nota, you get even a little extra.
I love that. And again, in speaking to you and what I've read, your Nota and M&T is a very modern bank. And I think part of the services, or part of, I guess, the draw is that you don't need necessarily a brick and mortar branch that you have to walk into in order to get all the services that you seek. And I think this is something that's going to be, in a weird way, Nota couldn't have come along, or a digital bank couldn't have come along at a better time so I use Bank of America, and there was a rare occasion during the pandemic where I needed to walk into a branch, and it was a stupid reason. I wanted large bills. I needed $500 bills. Yeah, I was going to the racetrack. No, I'm kidding. There were no races. And I needed to go into the branch to do that. All my branches were closed. It floored me. I was like, oh my God, how can every Bank of America in Orlando, Florida be closed right now? People still have banking needs. Anyway, that's a very minor example from a person who is very digitally focused. I don't normally need to talk to humans in person and walk into establishments, but I like the idea of a digital bank whose goal from the get-go is to not need you to walk into the bank. So as you're educating attorneys and rolling out a product that is fully cloud-based and thinking about becoming the lawyer's bank, with not necessarily a lot of branches like in Florida, I think you only have one. What are the objections that you have to overcome? And I guess this is a little bit of a conversation on educating attorneys about the difference between a digital bank and, quote, a traditional bank. Now, this is not to say M&T doesn't have brick and mortar locations, but get me to the point where I can be a lawyer who feels I don't need a brick and mortar bank on the corner of every intersection in my city. That's such an awesome topic, and it's very top of mind for the banking industry as general. Sure. Just like any other industry, we're getting digitized, and number of branches, for the most part, there are a few exceptions, few banks that are investing in more branches, but for the most part, we're seeing a decreased demand for in-person presence, and COVID certainly accelerated digital adoption, I would say 3 to 5 years. Thank God.
And we've seen that with our attorney clients significantly. Adriana, as you know, before the pandemic, how common was it to do a video conference? Most people were saying, hey, you got to come see me in person. And, with banking, it's no different. We had to adapt as M&T, and Nota was digitally native from the start, but there were some banking services that we had to consume with our parent, M&T Bank, that had to be in person. But now we basically give people that option. It's like, listen, if you have the need to come see somebody in person, you can. But even when we offer that, people say, well, you have DocuSign, you have the digital experience. Why would I want to come? It saves me so much time to do it via computer. And after I'm done with that meeting, I can switch to the next without getting in my car and driving to the office. And so it's, it's very efficient, but we try to be flexible. One thing that I don't see us getting to as much as, and this is, I'm a software engineer by training. I ended up getting my MBA later on, but, my personal, professional roots are in tech. And I believe that there is got to be a balance of this personal relationship in banking that is very important, but coupled with really good user experience and integrations into all the tools. And so that's what we were trying to do at Nota, is that have that personal relationship. So your banker by name, you have their cell phone number, and you can contact them anytime. You have self-sufficient, easy tools to use where you don't have to be a CPA or a sophisticated tech user to be able to use them. And three, have integrations with practice management softwares like Clio, with QuickBooks, your accounting software. And that way, everything is cohesive, nothing is siloed, and you have that cohesive view of your business. And the financial and accounting side is a key piece of that. So we want to be an enabler for our attorneys to better serve the communities that they're in. I mean, I believe that the mission for Nota is really to enable the solo and small law firms to be more efficient with their time, and as a result, create more value for the communities that they serve.
Couple of dumb questions that just come to mind in thinking about digital banking, which I don't think I had walked into a bank for years. I even do mobile deposits, which is what I was going to ask you about. So when an attorney has a type of practice where it's still check heavy, or maybe they get cash payments, how are they going to deposit their checks and their cash if we're working in a digital banking world? How does that happen?
So really good question. So with check deposits, that's pretty straightforward. You can either do it on your phone, and we have high deposit limits given the type of practice that someone is in. We also can provide a device, at no additional charge for them to be able to deposit that more seamlessly from their office, from their home office. But for folks that have cash transactions, at the moment, we haven't solved that, but you generally would need to go to a branch to do that. That's something that's still required.
Yeah, and I don't imagine that comes up very often in legal. I'm sure it's mostly credit card and check payments. Question for you, because you said, and I just want to say this out loud, so in case someone doesn't do mobile deposits, you said we have a high deposit limit. And that's because, so with my bank, I know when I go to do a mobile deposit, it'll tell me I have a limit of $50,000 per month. I wish I ever reached that limit. So you're saying you adjust, that's a typical banking limit that they'll put is on how many checks you can deposit by mobile. And you're saying that M&T specifically raises those limits or adjusts them based on the type of business or the amount of transactions that they might have in a month.
Exactly. And like I said before, one of the advantages that you get with a team that specializes in attorney banking is that we understand various practices. We can even make recommendations on certain best practices for a specific legal practice. And as a result, we're able to work with the attorney in that practice to be able to, on one hand, protect them from fraud or any kind of those type of activities, and also spot patterns for any kind of fraudulent activity, because we have that type of information, we have that type of experience, and also work with them to increase the deposit limits and support them in a way that is helpful.
You triggered a question for me. You mentioned fraud, which of course a lot of attorneys are afraid of wire transactions, and we went through a lot of training. And I say that sort of as a legal technology consultant and trainer who gives a lot of presentations and sees a lot of presentations. We are regularly reminding attorneys that there's a lot of fraud that happens during wire transfers, especially real estate attorneys. You all have a special one-way wiring service. Can you explain that? And because that's pretty cool. It's very secure and there's a reason for it.
Yeah, and well, I can't talk too much about the wire service because there is, some risks involved with disclosing, some of those specific nuances.
Yes, don't give away
But
any
certainly,
secrets. Just make us feel better about using the service.
no, but absolutely, we have all the checks and balances in place to protect our members, our clients, and that also, involves knowing your banker, the banker knowing your needs, and us working with you in a way that we're accelerating and supporting you in your business, but also protecting you in the back end in a way that's not inconvenient for you. Or I should say probably not too inconvenient for you. But
right.
It's again, I think that, the way I like to think about it, it's combination of an excellent service plus, being very tech forward. And that's what we're trying to do. And it requires a true partnership between the banker and the attorney. So that way, we can understand their business and we can, support them accordingly.
Yeah, I imagine, do you imagine that a lot of your newer customers, as Nota gets its name out there and starts making its way through the legal technology world, that your customers are going to be younger attorneys? Do you find that older attorneys, especially now after the pandemic, are more open to thinking about new ways of, yeah, you're laughing like...
No, when I first joined the Nota journey, people were telling me, especially attorneys, they were like, "Oh, Paul, you're going to have such a hard time." And I remember my teammates and I attended the Legal Tech show in Chicago right before the pandemic.
ABA Tech show, yeah.
ABA Tech show, and as we were meeting folks, they were saying, "Oh my God, guys, tech is, we lawyers, we don't like tech, we don't this and that, the other." But what the pandemic showed, we have, let me just say, clients that are probably closer to retirement, and a lot of them actually love it completely. They were like, "Oh my God, I wish I had this, earlier on in my career, because we were having paper, trails and all those things. And now the bank kind of does that for me because we provide the digital statements with Nota." So honestly, I think it's a more of a mindset shift, and probably, like when I think about social media, to be honest with you, like when I was growing up, I didn't have that, but younger generations before me, that's like, they don't, the world doesn't exist for them without social media. They never experienced that, right? Or without cell phones even. I remember the days when you had to meet a friend and you had to leave messages to one another without a cell phone. And now you think about it and you go, how did we do that?
How did we ever find each other? I say that all the time.
And it's the same thing with tech. I think now people kind of, regardless of their age, they try any kind of digital adoption, the mobile banking experience, all those other things, that integrations that we're building, and they go, wow, like I think it's more of a mindset. And I think it takes a relationship to get people comfortable to use a certain product, I think, for the most part. And once people try it, and we invest in training heavy on when people kind of join us, just to kind of say, hey, here's how we recommend you do things. And a lot of the times we've noticed, unless we do that, people sometimes hesitate to try it because it's banking product and they're afraid to screw it up.
Sure.
But for a big part of folks, once we have that conversation and they know the person on the other end that can hold their hand and answer any questions, that usually accelerates adoption and accelerates usage. Well,
in my experience with legal, which has been many, many years now, I started my first job in 1998 at a large Florida firm. What I always found was that when a new idea or a new technology or a new software is being introduced, rarely is the problem with the actual software or the technology. It's the people, and oftentimes it's the lack of training in getting them comfortable with and understanding. So I have said many times over the years, you don't have a technology problem here, you have a people problem. And with lawyers, what I have always found too with technology is I can have a brand new lawyer that's very open to technology, or I can have a very experienced attorney who isn't. But if I give them the business case for why they need to implement a new service, a new software, a new process, a new workflow, if it makes sense, they'll do it. Even my what's the word? My most curmudgeon attorneys, male or female, when you give them the business case of how this is going to help them run their practice better, how they're going to serve their clients better, how they're going to have more time for their personal life and not have to fret so much about running the business, they do it. So you're right. It is a mindset, but it is truly getting them to understand the value of why the service is helpful. And of course, in banking, I mean, banking can be really personal for people, probably more personal. And as I'm saying it out loud, I'm thinking about it, than a lot of other aspects of running their law practice, because we are talking about money, right? And is there anything more personal other than your own physical temple than money? So that's really great. Tell me what you all are doing insofar as getting the word out about Nota. Are you gonna attend virtual seminars and conferences? Are you where can people learn more about Nota? The website is trustnota.com.
Trustnota.com, and usually, the way we'd like to do this, I think building relationship with our members is our top priority. So we start that, with a quick introductory call, with somebody from our team that tries to understand their practice, what they're going through, shows the product, and start the relationship from there. And at that point, we basically have that person is always available. The first person you speak with, usually that's who you end up continuing the relationship with, our account executive, and they end up being your banker. And you have their cell phone number. You can access them at any time. They can answer any questions. And also, one thing, it's continuing to build that relationship. Like you said, it's very personal. Your business banking needs change, your personal banking needs change. You might need a student loan refinancing. You might need mortgage refinancing. So we try to, as a full service bank, we want to be there for you in every step of the way, and as and also start building that relationship with you. And we have a dedicated team, a tech team that actually is very close to our customers. Our tech team interviews our users and try to create more use cases that simplifies the banking experience. We say within Nota that simplicity is so key, and we want to be able for you to use the products without us having to explain it. Because if we have to explain it, that means we didn't build it, right? So that's what we strive to do.
That's really true. One of my very first missions when I started, I was very young and I was at this big Florida firm, and my boss sent me to learn a product called summation. And I was 28 years old. I came back to her and I said, I cannot train this product. And I didn't know anything, right? I mean, I was literally out of college. It was my first job, but I knew I could not train this product. And she said, why? What's the problem? I said, it's so buggy and it's so complicated that every time I do something, I then have to explain, why it did this and how you are to react to that glitch. So it wasn't simple. It was hard to use. I'm sure it's not even around anymore, but obviously products have gotten better. But we learned a lot from the iPad and the iPod, which was simplicity is best. And if we can keep technology simple for lawyers, they are more likely to believe in the business case that it's going to make their lives easier. So it's really exciting to hear about fintech, putting out their hand to shake legal tech and to see what happens. And I know there's not a lot of competitors right now. TrustBooks has been out there for a while, and it's a great little product and a fine service. So I'm excited to see something new and different in legal. And I know you guys are trying to make a big splash. So I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about it. And just tell us real quick, if somebody wants to reach out to you or learn more about Nota, other than going to trustnota.com, and they want to talk to a human, how can they do that?
It's a very personal service. I'm personally available. Anyone that wants to learn more, they can reach out to me via my email, paul@trustnota.com.
Very easy.
And or they can just go to trustnota.com, schedule a time, and there is a scheduler that allows you to book time with one of our bankers. And they'll talk to you. I mean, we're not salesy, we're not pushy. We just want to kind of tell you what we do, and what we end up finding out. Majority of people that we speak with end up signing up for our service because we truly believe that we're building something with the community, and our users have a seat at the table. We talk to them on a very regular basis. We relentlessly interview our users and try to add additional features, add additional products, so that way we're continuing to add value to them and ultimately their clients.
That's excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for your time. It's, like I said, it's exciting to see a new startup and a new corner of legal tech. So I can't wait to see what happens. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thanks for having me.